What's going on, YouTube? Slight situation. Actually, I know I haven't been here in a little while. I haven't been here since the election. That was things where I had to get something off my chest. I kind of talk about the things that's bothering me. There's another thing that's bothering me. The Yankee government is trying to take basically all of our cars. Like my dad's 79 Camaro, my 65 Galaxy, our new 85 Trans Am. You know, all three of our classic cars, except the Cruise, the 2016 Cruise that he's got, because he's still making payments on it or something, but the Yankee government is trying to take as much as they can. Now, I love the union, and the government setup we got was the best in the world until it got too fucking big. The government is too big, that's the problem. And those Yankees over there, they keep trying to take as much as they can. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am very happy with the results of the election. President Trump is doing a fantastic job. Things is better than they've ever been, really, for a lot of people. Quite a bit of people. Things is better than they remember, for hell, even from one of my grandfathers. My other one still... One of my grandpas watches CNN and NBC and all that, and he thinks they're real because, hey, they're the mainstream media, they're the news website. Now, of course they can't be telling a lie, he thinks, but that was at a time, he was at a time where he could trust the media. Things changed quite a bit on that, and he didn't want to accept it. But yeah, he doesn't like Trump because of things that the media says about him, which, yeah, that's kind of foolish, because Grandpa never did any research on him. Heck, he can't. He doesn't even have a computer. But yeah, that's a little bit off topic, but still same message. People just believe what the media tells them because they think that the news, is supposed to be telling the truth. They think there's no way they could be misinforming them on purpose or even on accident, which I think a lot of it is on purpose. Actually, not just I think. There's a lot of that was proven on purpose. Like CNN paying actors to start fights and represent all Trump supporters, start fights at Trump rallies with minorities and such. Yep, CNN backtracking on everything they say, and saying one thing at the beginning of the election, but towards the end, they say that they never said that, and when confronted with proof, they was like, oh, how did this guy get the video? Which is kind of funny. But either way, no, I haven't talked about this on here. But my 65 Galaxy, I got her a couple of years ago. She was in great condition, just sun-baked, blown engine for $1,000, and there were some rust holes in the back quarter panel, like rot holes from Watterson in there, but nothing major, just a little bit of Bond over it, and smoothed it out, and it looks like it's just part of the metal. I mean, it's painted over. You don't even notice it whatsoever. It's flawlessly done, unlike a lot of people that just completely make their whole cars out of Bondo. But we had to get a little bit on her to to smooth out the quarter panel and a dent or two here and there. But just that's it. Just a couple of places, and I'm talking about like bad places. One not so bad because it was like a little dent, but still, we smoothed it out. And I've been driving her for about a year now. Every so often, actually lately it's been all the time, where something breaks, and then after you get that something fixed, another thing breaks. First, it was the flywheel and the starter. Actually, no, first it was the pump, the power steering pump, which kept leaking. Which, I mean, I was driving the whole damn time with it leaking. I just had to fill it up like every couple of days or so when it gets too low. I was spending a fucking fortune on that type of power steering fluid, let me tell you. But but yeah, that wasn't the major issue. But you know what? We had to get it fixed just the same. And then the flywheel and the starter decided to shit the bed. I mean, they busted. They broke. I mean, we've we've had a lot of different, quite a few different flywheels and starters that we actually put on the car. That's not counting all the different fucking flywheels that were not sized right enough or that just didn't have the holes in the right places to go onto the car that it says it's designed to go onto. But made in Mexico, what can you do? Those people don't know how to take care of cars. Yeah, it's never, ever. When you see a guy that builds half the frame of his car out of wood planks, never ever ask him to make auto parts for you. Ever. I'm telling you. It's Mexican products when it comes to auto mechanics. It's our personal experience has all been shitty. Even the Japs make better parts than them, and the Japs make parts that are so thin. I mean, you could literally bend it with your two pinkies. It's that thin. Some of that stuff is that thin. But either way, when the starter breaks, they chew up the flywheel. We have to get new of both. And last starter broke at the aluminum core of it. The core broke. Like the whole thing came right off. I mean, as if you just broke it. Like as if you just tore it apart. It's probably weakness in the metal or something. I don't know. It's very unusual. I've never seen that before. But now that we got that fixed, I found that my brakes was grinding, and that was probably due to I kind of figured that was due to just her sitting a little while waiting for us to get the flywheel fixed because she was sitting about a month. Um, and I figured that was just like grime and rust kind of collecting on the brakes and need to be used to kind of clean themselves off. But also turns out I was losing pressure, so it's probably a leak in the brake lines as well, and so or probably the solenoid. And we got to get those things fixed. We got to get that fixed. So we got to either replace the solenoid or get new brake lines, depending on which one's bad. Dad's very convinced it's not the brake shoes themselves, but I don't know. I mean, I tell you, I don't know. I've never had brakes give out on me. I don't know how they react if something, like if the brakes, if I ground them down so much. I don't know if I ground them down so much that I would lose pressure in them or something, or like it wouldn't have the effect because the brakes should be ground down, or I don't know. I'm not much on. I'm not much of a car buff. Like I know a few basics. I don't know everything about them. That's for sure. Hell, I don't know half. But yeah, no, that's the new problem. And then came the Yankee government, the federal government. Now the federals, they seem to have this idea that if they could take as much money from you as possible, they will do that. If they could take everything you own, they would do that too. If they could take away everything you own from past, present, and future all at the same time and make you have nothing your whole entire life from birth to death, they might even do that too. Just give themselves a little more money. That's the federal government. That's the corruption of the federal government of the fucking politicians. It's gotta stop. And now they're trying to take RC away from me. That's my car. I named her RC. They're trying to take her away from me. Now, I'm kind of attached to my car. She's my first car. I, I mean, all you guys out there with your first car, and you guys that are now working on heck, even your second car, you'll notice this probably that it's just not the same. It's not the same bond. It's not the same kind of care you have for that car as you do for your first, because your first car, especially if you worked on it with your dad, is your first car. She's special. She's something no other car could replace, even an exact duplicate. Your first car is your first car, and nothing could ever replace that. And the government's trying to take mine away from me. And she's my baby. She really is. Now, if, if I lose RC, I'd probably be losing one of the better parts of myself. I know I'd definitely be losing all the fun I have on the highways every time I get the chance. I'd be losing, no, like a ride that I thoroughly enjoy driving, even to work and back, or to the store, or to something like Geneva. I took RC to Geneva last year. Last I believe it was last summer, and I had 2 days off work, and I figured I'd probably I'd better wait to like start out as early as I could on the first day, because I didn't know how long I'd be staying up there. But it turns out, I mean, it was an hour drive. I wound up staying for maybe 3 or 4 hours tops. Got a John Wayne movie from it, Hondo, good movie. And then on the drive back, I mean, everywhere I drive, I mean, I just plug in one of these things, which personally I hate technology, but these things, I love these things. These things are incredible. They're easy. That's why I like them. Is they're easy, not like regular technology, like this here phone I'm using. I hate these fuckers. Not only is it technology that a lot of it you can't really understand unless you're a computer genius or you've been around it all your life. Also, people can reach you anytime, anywhere, even on the road when you're trying not to get hit by a semi truck driving 100 miles past the speed limit. That's happened to me before. That was a little bit annoying. And but yeah, these things hold. I was told they hold videos. I wasn't really concerned about that, so I don't know if they do or don't. I don't know if it's. I mean, I know I tried downloading videos, like one video on this thing, and wound up on my computer. I don't know if it's actually in one of these things. I have three of them, and the original one that I tried the video on, that's in my car now. That's an RC, plugged into the radio. But and on that one, I have over 150 songs on it. On this, I believe it was 1 gigabyte. Yeah, no wait, not 1 gigabyte. 16 gigabyte. I don't know anything about gigabyte. I don't know what damn thing. I don't even know how much a gigabyte is. I couldn't tell you. A gigabyte, something called a terabyte. When I think of terabyte, I think of Terra, Earth. I mean, that's a scientific name for Earth after all. I just think, wait, the Earth bites? That's kind of the first thing that pops in my head sometimes when I hear terabyte. But, one of these things, these are incredible. And I always have one of these plugged into my radio because the dang thing is probably unhooked from the antenna. I could tell that by not being able to get a dang thing out of the signal, or out of the radio, FM or AM. Which I know one of them has absolutely nothing on them anymore, or just about absolutely nothing, but still. On both of them, yeah, something's definitely wrong with that antenna and or that radio. And I love playing CDs in there, except a lot of times when I play CDs, it plays for 5 seconds, stops, starts again, stops, starts again, sometimes skips every now and then. It depends on what mood it's in. Sometimes it does it to one CD, sometimes it doesn't do it to that one CD. Sometimes it does it to one CD and not the other, and sometimes the role reverses with the same CD. I don't know what's going on with that thing. But these, on that radio, have never failed me. Now, I go down cruising every chance I get with all four windows rolled down, with no post frame on the doors, which is a very unique look, I think, in my eyes. With all the windows rolled down, there's nothing in the middle between the doors, nothing, no post anywhere, and it's just, and with that, what they call the smoker window, the triangle, and she's beautiful, she's amazing. I mean, she's just about perfect, really. I mean, she's definitely the best, probably one of the best cars I'll ever own. I still wanted to very much get Christine and General Lee, but those are in the future when I got the money to afford them both. Now, generally, I wouldn't jump him like they jumped him in the Dukes of Hazzard show. That would ruin him. That would destroy him in the first jump. No, I'll be easy on him. Of course, I probably might try to rent out a racetrack or something, or go in there whenever I can on a racetrack and just let everything all hang out. Going as fast as I can on that track. Oh boy, that would be fun. Playing the Dixie horn as I go, but no, in RC, I always have music playing. And on these things, I have selections of rock and roll, like Twisted Sister, Bon Jovi, AC/DC, well, a couple AC/DC, Joan Jett, and them kind of guys, and country music. And I'm talking about like the Hank Williams Jr. America the Way I See It, which is the only of Hank Williams I've seen that I've actually liked, is that album right there. And songs of the Civil War, Dixie, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, the Battle Cry of Freedom. On both sides, I got. Oh, meaning blue and gray. They each have their versions of each other's songs every now and then that you got. When Johnny comes marching home, and they're really good songs, and a lot of patriotic songs, a few gospel songs like Amazing Grace and How Great Thou Art, and I keep them on there. I got them on there, and I play them, and it's just it's heaven to me. It's going down the road, playing that music in that car is heaven to me, and the Yankee government is trying to take that away from me. See, in 1860, in 1860, South Carolina seceded from the Union after President Lincoln got elected. Now, that was because the politicians they was afraid that President Lincoln was going to take away their money train, aka slavery, which was an evil, horrible, horrible thing. It had to come to an end. In fact, it never should have begun in the first place. There's no justification for it whatsoever. No justification. There's no argument for it. It's just all around wrong. Ain't no two ways about it. But now, and that's what the politicians were afraid of losing it, because the politicians were getting money, most notably from plantation owners, where all the slaves was, and the plantation owners were basically paying like half the politician's salary, maybe a little more so, and so they were handing the money over to them so that they could keep their slaves working in the fields, and the politicians, they were basically jerking off the hand that fed them, and they spread distrust, disunity, sowed the seeds of secession and sectionalism, and did everything they could to get away from the Union, because they knew that the Yankee government wouldn't just leave the whole slave issue alone. Which the Yankee government, that's one of the many things I support the government on. But government should have limits. But you know what? I support the government on that. But now, then President Lincoln in 1861, I believe it was, he raised an army of 25,000 men, an army to invade the South and crush the rebellion. That was before Virginia seceded, and that's at the time where Colonel Robert Edward Lee was offered command of the army. Now, Colonel Lee, he turned down the position, saying to Mr. Blair, I believe it was, that he could not raise his hand against his children or against his home. which I certainly understand that point of view. I certainly understand that point of view. And for a lot of people like Lee and Jackson, when President Lincoln invaded an army to invade the South, people largely saw it as subjugation of the Southern people, and they largely saw President Lincoln as a tyrant because he was invading his own country, basically. And but see, and here's the thing: they loved their states. They loved their home states and their families more than they loved the Union. Which honestly, I love my country more than my state. But they didn't, and they fought for what they thought was their duty to their states, and they loved their states more, and they felt the federal government was going to try to come down to where they lived, and try to take their states' rights away from them, because the politicians, they've had this idea of states' rights, the government's coming down for your money, for your pocketbooks, coming down for your wives, even some of them said, just feeding mass hysteria among the people to try to get them to secede, try to get them to fight for the Confederacy. That's what a lot of when their state. I guarantee you, if many of the states that stayed with the Union, if they actually joined the Confederacy, I guarantee you, a lot of the boys, a lot of the Federal soldiers would have been wearing gray coats instead of blue. I guarantee you, because I know a lot of them only fought for the Union. A very good portion of them only fought for the Union because they were loyal. Their states had fought for the Union, so a lot of them were fighting more for their states than for the Union. And far less were fighting to abolish slavery, just like in the South, the Southern soldiers, far less of them were, were fighting to maintain slavery. In fact, a lot of them didn't give a damn about slavery. But either way, that was just an example of people seeing the government coming down to your place and trying to take what you own. That's what they was thinking in their heads, and that's what's actually going on right now. The federal government is trying to take away what I own. They're trying to take away my car that I own. Now I realize that she ain't no human. She ain't got a soul. She's just a machine, really. But you know what? Never mess with a guy's first car, man. I'm telling you. Especially when this guy loves classic cars, and his first car is his classic car. I'm telling you, there would be hell to pay. Us guys were very attached to our cars and very defensive about our cars. Heck, there's a lot of guys that would fight anybody to keep scratches off the cars, keep fingerprints off the cars. I gotta tell you. Nobody's coming between me and my car. Nobody is. A lot of people out there, they just don't understand it. Sure, she's an inanimate object, but the sentimental value. I mean, cars generally, you can almost feel personality from the car, but that's the personality you kind of put into it with the things that you do to her. Like with the engines. With the engine, you kind of beef them up a little bit, make her into a sports car or something, or just make her into an everyday driver. You can feel a certain personality coming from her because you worked on her and you basically projected personality onto her, I guess. I don't know how the whole thing really works. I just know I'm attached to my car. And I'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere to keep her. And if the Yankee government decides to take my car from me, and they're doing it because my dad has a problem with credit cards. So he was basically spending money he didn't have when his job went out the window. And when he filed for bankruptcy to kind of get rid of the debt, get rid of the cards, that's when the Yankee government decided to do this. Now, if the government decides to take my car, I mean they'll put her into an auction. They'll put all the cars into an auction and try to sell them off to pay off that debt. Now, I got 2 tricks up my sleeve if they try to do that. Number 1, trick 1, that's where I go to that auction and I try to buy my baby back, and if possible, get back my dad's cars. Option 2, I start a civil war. And here would be the reason. for not only states' rights, but constitutional individual rights because the federal government is too big. There's been a civil war brewing in this country already because the government is too big, overstepping people's rights. And with abortion, that's murder. And now that a lot of people want to secede because of that. A lot of people want to get away from the federal government because abortion is actually murder and the federal government has legalized murder. I'm not kidding. They legalized murder. I don't care if the baby's unborn or not, and I don't care if it somehow happens in some sort of fucked up universe where the baby's nothing but a bundle of cells, no matter how much of a pot belly the mother has. And I don't fucking care. The potential for life is still life. Life begins at conception, and even if it didn't begin at conception, which it does, still, the potential for life is enough reason to fight, to sacrifice, to die, to protect that life, because a life is a life. A human life is a human life. And who am I or who are you to tell me whether that life deserves to be extinguished, whether that life doesn't have the right to live? Now, it's one thing if we're talking about capital punishment for murder, for rape, whatever, but when we're talking about an unborn baby, even some of them that were just a day away from being born. I mean, kids never had a chance to grow up. Who does that? Now, the federal government, they legalize that. And for a lot of people, that's more example of federal government taking away people's rights. Is whether it intended to or not, the federal government is taking away those kids' rights. Millions of kids by now, millions of kids, they've taken away the rights for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And now they're trying to take my rights to own my car. They're trying to take my right to go down cruising the highway in whatever car I want to. For a mistake I didn't even make. Actually, it wasn't really a mistake. My dad was desperate and kind of hard up because he lost his job a while ago, a couple years ago. But and now the government is trying to make us pay for it. And something that doesn't even have a price tag. Not for me. You could offer me the world for RC and I'd turn you down. See, there is no price tag. There is no price tag. I don't care how much you offer. I don't care if you're Bill Gates offering to give me an entire mountain full of money. I don't care. I don't care if you're the Almighty himself coming down and setting setting the existing rule for me where everything goes the way I want in this life, where everything is free, where I don't have to pay for anything ever again. I get whatever I want. I don't care. I would turn that down for RC. Now, the whole situation is really fucked. It really is. Now, the whole damn thing is really messed up. And I'm basically kind of put in the same position that the Rebs were. The Rebs, they were afraid that the federal government would, they were afraid that when the federal troops came down here, that their homes, that their families, they would be put at risk, which they were when the war came. A lot of it during Sherman's March to the Sea, where he burned down towns in the Confederate States of America. There was Union troops that actually raped women. I mean, just people think that there was absolutely no human or no civilian casualties in the war between the states, but unfortunately there was. There was some casualties. Some of them even went unreported. But regardless, it happened. It happened. Their fears were justified. Now, I don't think that there was justification for fighting against the Union. The Confederate States was a nation trying to tear apart the United States, the original states of America. Now, and here's the only argument I could give that says that they weren't exactly Now they people call them traitors all the time, and they may even be traitors. At that time, though, it was you got to remember that was a time where people said the United States are. See, at the time, it was the Union was just that, the Union. America was a continent in their eyes, with states kind of working together under one federal system, where everybody believed that each state had the right to secede, and really they did. There was no laws against it. See, kind of like a lot of them were like a lot of them were like President Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence and wrote major parts of the Constitution. President Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, he was strict on that. He said he thought that if it's not in the Constitution, it doesn't exist, and there was nothing in the Constitution saying that the states could not secede. So that was a lot of their war cry is states' rights, is the states had the right to secede. The federal government said no, and they thought the states had the right to, and that the federal government was taking away the states' rights. And to them, it didn't matter why the state wanted to secede. The thing is, if the state wanted to secede, in their eyes, she had every right to do so. States' rights, because that was their home. That's what Jefferson. That's what Jackson thought. That's what Lee thought. That's what Longstreet thought. That's what they. That's even what a lot of the Northern commanders thought. Except they really didn't care much about that. They just wanted the Northern commanders. They wanted to preserve the country, which I would fight against the Confederates. I'd fight against General Robert E. Lee himself, though I have great respect for the man. I would fight against him myself to preserve the Union, to preserve this one nation under God. It was under Lincoln that we became one nation under God, not under President Washington. President Washington, that was the Union. President Washington was the President of the United States of America, which even then was just referred to as the Union. And it was under Lincoln where we became one nation. When the states rejoined the Union, it was then the United States of America is, not the United States of America are. And the rebels, they thought the states ought to have their own decisions, their own say, be their own bosses, which I could totally understand. They were afraid the government was growing too big, which I very much understand, because the government has grown a lot bigger since then. I know what it's like to have a very big, very overbearing government. It's got to stop. You guys got quite a bit on this one. Shoot. More than a half hour. Now you guys got quite a bit. Drop the phone there. Yeah. Got a little bit of history, a little bit of government fucking up, and a little bit of my problem, which I came on here to talk about in the first place because it's just eating away at me. It really is. Imagine having an overbearing government, like a big daddy, basically, or big brother, really. Imagine having big brother come on down to you, the little brother, and say, "Hey, I'm taking this. You can't have this anymore because I decided I'm taking it." Now imagine that happening. Just imagine it. And there's a lot of people that don't even have to imagine it. There's a lot of people that's actually happened to, where Big Brother government came on down to take their stuff, or to take their money right out of their wallets because they wouldn't sign up for Obamacare. Which actually, signing up for Obamacare was basically saving money. Not signing up for Obamacare wasn't saving money. Taking the penalty fine for not signing up for Obamacare was saving more money than actually signing up for Obamacare. He said, I think Obama did this on purpose, but he said that the health expense. healthcare in this country is just too expensive. So he created just another healthcare healthcare organization. Organization again, like not really, just healthcare law basically, and an Obamacare and healthcare organization created that and punished you for not taking it. No other health organization did that, but Obama did. Obamacare did, and they didn't even pass it. The law wasn't even passed as like a full completed thing. It was just passed as basically a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, and they just wrote on it as they went. From the time of Obamacare's conception, and framing of Obamacare into the Constitution, to or yeah, I think into the Constitution. Not entirely sure how that one worked. But, yeah, from the time it was put into law, which in the Constitution has got to be law. It's got to be in the Constitution if it's got to be law. When the time it was put into law, from the time it was put into the law, to the time Obama finally got his ass booted out by President Trump, he was still rewriting things in Obamacare. He was still adding on to it. My God, it went as a blank piece of paper and came out with thousands of different pages to it. It was absolutely a mess. And that's not even where all this started. That was a major sign of the government getting worse and getting far too big. And with the government, Social Security, bad idea. Horrible idea. Thanks a lot, FDR. Fucking Democrat. And although I do have respect for FDR, considering the fact that he was an actual patriot. I loved the country, and he was one of them old school Democrats would say, I don't like the way this guy's saying it, but I'd fight to the death for his right to say it. That's the kind of socialist he was. He believed in individual liberty, and you know what? Socialists today aren't even socialists anymore. Now, I'm not a socialist. I think they're stupid. But still, at least that kind of guy, he wouldn't riot every time he heard something he didn't like. He wouldn't. But still, he's an idiot. He was an idiot. He put some dumb things in there. He put some dumb things in the law, and Social Security is one of them. And welfare, he put that one in. Oh my God, it wasn't like it is today, but still, he had to have known. He should have known that people were just going to make it worse. That's what humans do, is make things worse. But Social Security, basically, you work your whole life. The government takes away a little bit out of your paycheck and saves it for you your entire life until you retire, and then your government's supposed to give it back to you, except that's not going to work anymore because baby boomer generation, Social Security is having more taken out than put in. And also, the Yankee government that said it's saving that money for you is the same Yankee government that keeps dipping its finger into the cookie jar to take some of that dough out. And it's just not going to last. It's going to collapse. And the bigger government gets, the worse it gets. So, there's something to consider. So, that's all I got to say on these subjects for right about now. I'd be curious to see what kind of comments this video would get, if it gets comments at all. But my channel is very, very small. Not really popular. I doubt a whole lot of people know about it. But all my problem, really, I mean, I'm not just doing this to entertain nobody. I'm just doing this to kind of get problems off my chest, talk about shit that bothers me. But either way, well, that's what you get. That's the story. I'm not going to tell you guys to like, comment, or subscribe because, I mean, who likes to see a guy ranting about all the problems of his life? Sometimes it's funny. Like Alpha Omega Sin, he's funny as hell. But a lot of people don't really enjoy that for good reason. because I mean I don't want to hear people's problems. I don't want to hear anybody else's problems. I got enough of my own. But still, it's nice to talk about it. So, if you watch all the way to the end, um, heck, if if you didn't view this video and watch all the way to the end, um, leave a comment down below telling me that you watched to the end. I'd be interested to know that one. And I know because this is the end, and you would have heard me. So all you just have to do is just leave a comment saying I watched to the end, and you know what that would be. You might get a couple laughs out of me. I was like, oh wow, I was just talking about federal government and states' rights, and I got somebody that actually watched all the way to the end with my rant. How about that? But that's it. I'll try to get. I'll see if I'm getting games on here or something. Kind of get the channel. Try to get grow a little bit now because I heard about YouTube revenue. I want to kind of get to it before it's gone completely. But yeah, I'll see about getting some sort of game setup system doing, and then I just basically like what was his name um PewDiePie. That's it, and a few of these other guys are on this site on YouTube playing games all the time, every time how they make their money. Also, check out H3H3 Productions. They're funny as hell. Um, and yeah, that's it. Have a good one.